be speaking with me, Tarun Nangia. Today, we embark on the part 2 of our series that we started last year on the role of General Counsel and the emerging role of the General Counsel. What started out as an idea with Mr. Karanjawala a year ago has now grown into a series, and with the great response that we received for the 2022 iteration, now we bring you the 2023 edition of the role of General Counsel. I'm happy that I have a very interesting panel today. Let me welcome Mr. Ryan Karanjawala. He is, as we all know, managing partner of one of India's leading litigation law firms at the Supreme Court of India. Good to see you, Mr. Karanjawala, and looking forward to some interesting insights from you, as usual. I have with me Dr. Sunil Mittal. He is a group retainer with Kalpataru Group, speaks very eloquently on issues pertaining to general counsels, the emerging role, what is the role of GCs in future. We'll reflect on all of this. At the outset, Mr. Karanjawala, in the first 2 minutes, if you could lay the ground for this topic, then we move into the specifics. In about 2 to 3 minutes, over to you, Mr. Karanjawala, for the role of general counsel and the emerging role of the general counsel.
So, Tarun, two things. One, I'll talk about how the role of general counsel has changed from when I first joined to where I am today. The second, I'll talk about what my own personal belief as far as industry in India is concerned, the one lacuna that they have. So first, let me tell you, when I joined the bar, which was way almost 40 odd years ago, somewhere in 1979, August 79 it was. In fact, 8th August. So tomorrow, I think, I joined the bar. And in those days, general counsels of companies really were not a very prevalent breed. They used to have a law officer or a legal manager or somebody, and he really had a very limited role. He never really was allowed to, basically his role in those days used to be collecting the papers, putting the problem in one place, taking it to the solicitor's firm, who would then either advise him themselves or in turn take counsel's opinion, especially in the context of litigation. And this I saw very prevalent when you looked at the commercial practice that was going on in Bombay in those days. Bombay, as you know, in those days, was the commercial center of India. Delhi hadn't yet come up. There were not so many industrialists or industries in Delhi. It was all Bombay-based. And the Bombay solicitor firms used to rule the roost. For example, there would be Crawford Bailey. There would be Mullah Mullah. There would be Kanga Company. This is all before AZB, and there would be Shahzul Amachand. In the sense, not Shahzul Amachand or Cyril Amachand, but Amachand Mangalas, where their father Suresh Shroff used to run. Then there would be a lot of other firms, very, very big firms also, which basically used to have huge corporate clients. And those solicitors actually were the key pivotal people in charge of all litigation that these corporates used to have. So the role of the legal officer would be to package everything, bring it to the solicitor. The solicitor would decide what the strategy was, which counsel to brief, where to file, what to do, and so on. And the legal manager had a very limited role. Today, it's almost, I would say, 60-40. 40% of the contributions now today comes from the general counsel or the legal counsels of a corporate firm. They are the ones who come and say, look, this is the problem. We've had this problem in the past. We've dealt with it in this particular way. What do you suggest? 1. 2, we have had a very unhappy experience with this particular lawyer in the past, so let's not go to him. We like that guy, so why don't we go to him? They are far more, they have a far greater say, they're far more receptive. But I still feel that they don't get the general bhav, to use that word, that they should. Because in very simple terms, the one area where I find Indian industrialists just refuse to spend is in-house counsel. They are willing to pay lakhs and crores of rupees on a senior counsel's fee when they have to go to court. But they will not build up their own teams. I remember once when I was doing the ArcelorMittal matter for Lakshmi Mittal's group against SR, when we took over the SR steel mill, I once had a long 2-hour discussion with Aditya Mittal just on this very point. And I told him, I said, the one thing you all need to spend on is get hold of the top general counsel that you can I mean, the best that money can buy, and keep him, because you will find that he then guides you. See, the role, I'm sorry to take a little more time, Tarun, but the role of a general counsel is not just to pick up the problem and put it in the hands of the solicitor. The role of the general counsel is to constantly navigate the ship, his company, through the legal maze that India has to a safe port. He has to decide. You know, people used to say that the general counsel of GE sat on the board with Jack Welch. If Jack Welch wanted to do something and the general counsel did not, it wouldn't happen. That is actually what I feel the role of a general counsel should be. So, to sum up my initial statement, we've come a long way from where we are, but we've got an even longer way to go. That's my view.
Thank you. Thank you for that opening comment. I'll go to Dr. Sunil Mittal for your opening comment on the issue of the General Counsel agenda and the future role of the General Counsel.
Thank you so much, Tarun. It's really nice to have a discussion with you and Ryan. Ryan has elaborately told about the role of General Counsel, and the views which I'm expressing are my own views. See, the point is, it is an evolvement which has happened over the time. As has been very rightly stated, there is a paradigm shift, and person or the solicitor like Mr. Ryan Kranjawala played a very critical role in the development of this, because they understood that the way Indian economy is growing, the way we have to develop the infrastructure, we need to have good people on board inside the company who can play a pivotal role, who can guide, who can lead, who can assist the company in taking the right call. If you look at it, and just to elaborate what he said, in the period from 1950 to 80, it was all promoter driven. He used to take all the decisions. 1980 to something around 1995, there used to be technocrats, they used to rule. Then from 1995 onwards, say you can say up to 2015 or like that, finance guy used to play a pivotal role. But now the kind of regulatory frame which is there in the country, the way we are developing infrastructure, where the money involved or the stakes involved, either in the dispute resolution or in the transaction advisory, in both the perspective, this thing I'm saying, the role of a strong in-house counsel has grown like anything. He's the first person who has to play a very pivotal role, very important role, who will guide the management. Look here, this is the way we have to take it, we have to navigate. He will immediately say that these are the councils, external councils, if it is within the domain of India or international transaction, whom to be approached with their experience. So this kind of paradigm shift has already taken place, and with every passing day, the kind of regulatory regime which is there in the country, the way we want to be a $3 trillion economy, a $5 trillion economy, we have to put a lot of emphasis on that, and we have to handle the things in that perspective. So this role is going to be something very important. He is like the eyes and ears of the top management. And what Ryan just said about the G, those kind of situations have started occurring in India, and they will move further, and that will be in the overall interest of corporate India. Thank you.
So, Mr. Karanjawala, what do you foresee happening in future as far as the emerging role of the General Counsel is concerned? Now we have this new concept of group general counsels that are there in a few companies. Vedanta, case in point, there is a group GC for the first time. Then we saw Aditya Birla having a group GC for the first, they have a group GC now. This is also a trend that for all groups, you need a figurehead. All companies may individually have a GC. In Tata's, who you extensively have worked with over the years, there has always been a group GC. If you could share that what lies in future as the economy grows to $5 and $10 trillion in the next 15-20 years, which is inevitable. This economy is going to grow. Businesses are going to become larger, and disputes will happen more and more, because as businesses grow, disputes are going to be a natural result.
So, Tarun, one thing I should mention, since you brought up the name of the Tata Group, the Tatas were the only ones who, from a very early period, either intuitively or just through JRD's foresight, realized the role of what a in-house legal team should be. So they were in those days, they picked the senior most partner, one of the senior most partners, and one of the most brilliant solicitors Bombay has produced. His record for the CPC exam in the solicitor's exam is still there till today. Was a man of they picked SR Mullah. Oh, I forget. Yeah, SR Mullah, I think. As the no, I've got the name wrong. There's some other name, and the other person they had was Nani Palkhiwala. India's foremost lawyer was put. That man's name was Shavak Vakil. India's foremost lawyer was put on the role as a director of Tata Sons. He was a director of Tata Sons. He overseed companies, and at the same time, in those days, he was the number one lawyer of India. So the Tata Group somehow always had the pick of the lot, as far as legal talent was concerned. The others were not that this thing. For example, in Calcutta, what the Birlas did was, largely they went to one firm, Khaitans, and one partner, Pinto. That is Pinto Khaitan, who is Hegre's father. They used to go to Pinto Khaitan at a young age, they say. Pinto was on the board of almost 20 to 30 companies. He was one of the youngest solicitors to be on so many boards, you see. So the Tatas and the Birlas had sort of started thinking along those lines. But today, of course, as Sunil pointed out, things have evolved. But we've still got to go to a further place. For example, I think there's no doubt as the economy grows, the economy is going to be more and more regulated. Because as companies grow, as they become larger, as they become monoliths, regulations have to come into place to see that they work in a particular format, in a particular parameter. To navigate those regulations, you will necessarily need a very talented group of in-house legal people, not just one person, a whole team, because they will be studying what has happened today, what has happened here, what has happened there. And the companies will have to keep evolving and shaping to that particular end. Now, I think sooner or later, maybe 5, maybe 10 years down the road, sooner or later, the Companies Act will mandate that the general counsel of a company which is, say, above 100 crores, 200 crores, whatever the parameter is, must sit on the board. So he is involved from the bottom all the way to the top in all key decision making. So no important decision which has to go to the board escapes him. This will be, I think, what the future has in store for us. And I think it's very good. For example, you just take an advanced country like America, where, Tarun, is the office of the general counsel. It's always next to the chairman's office. He sits one room away. Because, you just at one short notice, he'll be called in. What do you have to say on this? This is what I have to say. Move on. Things like that. And then what will start happening over the years is, I see, general counsel will no longer be homegrown. People will start picking out, as they do in America, senior partners who have still got 8-10 years of service in top law firms which the company has been working with, and asking them to come in as general counsel. So the man has the advantage of also having seen the external world. I think these are the things that I foresee is likely to happen for the future.
Thanks. Thank you for sharing that perspective with us. I'll go to Dr. Sunil Mittal. Now, you've been in the role of a external general counsel for over 2.5 decades. You have seen the emergence of this role. If you could, in the next few minutes, take us through why a general counsel is needed. There is a law firm, much like what Mr. Karanjawala runs, which takes up the role. I mean, he works for businesses like Tata's and many other large businesses that his law firm works for. Of course, he in turn is assisted by 100 lawyers who work for his firm. So it's a fairly large team. Why then this emergence of big legal teams in companies that we see recently? And why this role has achieved so much of prominence? I mean, at least if you take the past 7-8 years, GCs have grown and grown. In your view, what is happening?
See, point is basically, as Mr. Kranjawala said, it is the evolvement. The way business is growing, the way, for example, let's take an example just to clarify the position. India is spending hugely on the infrastructure, right? Huge infrastructure contracts are being signed. They are executed. Now, when this execution is going on, there are n number of problems coming on the way. It may be in the terms of getting approvals, ensuring regulatory compliances, and there may be court litigations. You will find without fail, all major big contracts are having huge challenges. And this requires, what exactly then it needs? What is the panacea of the whole problem? That there should be persons who are well versed with the business of the company. They should be sitting and watching each and every moment how the things are evolving over there, how the business is being executed. So whenever fortnightly or monthly review meetings are going on, business, this legal head or in-house counsel or general counsel, they used to be part of it. Because they see each and everything which is taking place, they work out the strategy. Now, just to add on this, for example, there are delays in execution of 1,000 crore project or 2,000 crore project. Immediately, the next question which the concerned business head will ask or the CEO will ask, and the board of the company wants to know that what will be the ramifications and how to address that. What are the ways, how we can redress the situation, what all correspondence we have to do with the government. So these all advices which will come directly from the in-house team, as very rightly said, now legal in-house team is not like 2 or 4 persons. In 1,000 crore company, now the team size used to be 20 persons, and when the 5,000 crore company is there, it becomes 30 in 10,000 crore, and it multiplies like that. The whole team works in tandem, and they try to work out the solutions. Those solutions help in building the proper correspondence in addressing the issue. Same is true about the litigations. You can take the example of arbitration, you can take the example of court litigations. Now, as Mr. Kranjawala said, it's not just picking the file and going to the solicitor. Now you have to understand, you have to collate all the papers. Time is the essence. The role of in-house counsel is to collate all the papers systematically over the time. These documents are taken and protected in a proper IT network where the documents are analyzed, they are discussed, and then in the process manner, they go to the external counsel. Then it becomes very handy for him. He has not to go through thousands of documents or millions, lakhs of documents to come to some meaningful conclusion. This in-house team or the general counsel will say, Mr. Kranjawala, these are 20 documents you have to look into, and this way we have to take it forward. Then there will be collaborative efforts of the in-house team and the external team. In external team, it could be the briefing counsel, it could be the arguing counsel or the senior advocate. They work collectively, holistically to find the solution out. So basically, it is the cost, it is the time lag, and is the proper decision which requires that India need to have in all its major corporates good in-house team that will only further the cause, that will help in the development of the economy in a systematic way. This is how I look at it.
Thanks for that explanation. I go to Mr. Kranjawala. If you take into account your earlier answer and what Dr. Mittal said, do you think that general counsels actually have to now become involved in every decision-making process because they should be aware of every small thing happening? Because we saw very big litigations in India like the 2G case and the coal case, where if GCs would have been listened to or heard, a lot of problems could have been avoided. Do you think it is handholding every step where the GC sits with the promoters that if you do this?
Let me put it in perspective. Obviously, general counsels are not going to be involved in what the purchase department of a company should buy, what they should not buy. The day-to-day nuts and bolts running of the company is not their problem. Their problem is to see it from a slightly bigger angle and see where is the ship of the company sailing and to see that it is safe. So whenever the company interacts with the regulatory regime, that is where they have to get involved. That is where they have to step up and say, look, this is fine, this is not fine. See, they have to get involved at a certain intellectual and an elevated level. They're not going to sit and say, okay, all right, which marketing ad should be run? Obviously, those things are not their domain and they have no expertise. But where they have expertise, there they have to come in and sit at the very top. Tarun, just let's step back for a moment. Just go back to 20 years ago and today and open the papers and see how much was the law and the courts talked about then and how much is it talked about now. It's talked about at least 10 times more than it used to be in those days. So the reason that it gets talked about is also that it affects everybody across the board. All companies today are much more affected by the laws, the problems, the regulations than they were earlier. So the chairman of the company also today has to be in step with what is happening in the legal space. That is why he needs his general counsel close at hand. That's why he needs to be briefed constantly and kept alert constantly as to the pitfalls on the way. That is the whole purpose of the general counsel, to ensure that the company doesn't do anything which can get the company into trouble later on. That is his real strength. And for that, he not only has to be, see, it's okay to know technically the laws. He also has to have that confidence of his board, the confidence of his chairman, who, when he speaks, will listen. He has to be able to say, I'm sorry, sir, but this cannot be done. It's not an easy thing. Most proprietors are very sort of willful and say, no, we'll do it. Why should we not do it? My father did, I'll do it. But it doesn't work like that. And today, a lot of the top industrialists who find themselves in jail, had they had a general counsel who just told them, don't do this, and had they listened to him, would not be where they are.
Do you mean that the general counsel also needs to be an assertive person? He should have human qualities like these?
The general counsel needs to be a person, whether he's assertive or not in behavior, I don't know. He needs to be a person whose voice is listened to. Now, how he manages that with his chairman is for him to see. He may be very soft-spoken and listened to all the time. He may be screaming all the time and not listened to. So that's his own chemistry, and that's how he has to do this thing. But generally, he has to see, and also a general counsel obviously cannot be an alarmist. You can't have a situation where every 2 minutes you're panicking the management. That's not your role. Your role is to just, as a part of senior management, take the ship forward. That's your role.
That question I'll take to Dr. Mittal. Dr. Mittal, when you say the economy grows from 3.5 trillion to 10 trillion, this will happen in next 15 years, which means all big businesses, be it consumer durables, automobile, construction materials, which has about 150 industries, petrochemicals, the pipeline businesses, all of these businesses will grow 5 to 6 times as the economy grows, which means so many decisions will have to be taken. There will be mistakes, which will lead to arbitrations and then litigation also. How much challenge will be there for the general counsel? Because he will experience responsibility, which he has never experienced before. For example, if you handled 40,000 crore worth of business today, you would have to handle 1.5 lakh crores worth of business. What kind of challenges do you foresee for your role?
See, Tarun, how I really look at it as the problem, as you very rightly said. The problem will keep on coming in the way, but the answer to that is that we have to develop a caliber. We have to develop the team. We have to develop in-house counsels as a new breed, which is as of now in the process. We have to increase its speed. What India needs today to address this issue is that we need to train our people in this field. What we need to do is in the law colleges, so far law colleges, majorly they are producing the litigating lawyers, but that is not the need of the hour. Law colleges have to focus that there has to be a proper training and skill enhancement for the purpose of developing or grooming in-house counsels. It should start from that stage. That kind of exposure needs to be given. If a general counsel keeps on developing his team and maintaining his team, then there is no risk, no problem, I'm telling you.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to know this from you. What is the role of GC as a bridge between the promoter and the law firm? How because he's managing, I mean, in a sense, he's privy to everything that is happening in the company, the GC. So from the smallest litigation and the smallest arbitration to compliances, to policy decisions, he's privy to everything.
Correct.
Now the law firm may not be privy to everything because they don't need to be. It depends on what profile of law firm is, what work they handle, at what level do they work. How does he play this role? And in future, what role will be? Because as businesses grow, are GCs ready to take that kind of a mandate? Because it's a very heavy mandate to have.
So basically, as far as the challenge is concerned, GCs are in a position. I used to interact with lot many people. They are happy and they are shouldering the responsibility in a big way. What solution they have come across, as I'm trying to explain, that they have been developing teams. In-house, it's not like that there'll be a team which is addressing only litigations. They have to build the proper data bank. They have to use the tools wherein they will get all the kind of alerts. If the business is having problem, they will start documenting the things. And that data bank, which is there with the in-house team, they will keep on analyzing. With the help of that, at the right moment, GC will, depending upon it's again an ABC kind of analysis scenario. He has to pick what kind of disputes which are major, where the attention of the general counsel is needed, where the attention of the middle level in-house counsel is needed, and where the trivial matters can be looked by the teams which is there, which is part of their grooming. So basically, things are to be segregated, compartmentalized. Then role will be given to those persons and they will be interacting with the external law firms. You have to choose a battery of external law firms who understand your line of businesses. It's not to be understood in the context of India. It has to be understood in the context of global level working. Now the time has changed. Indian companies have started growing as Indian multinationals. You need to have the whole team. You need to have the whole network of the people who are available at the international level. So what you need to do is you have to build the right kind of network. You need to have the right kind of people in-house and regular interaction with the external law firms. Collectively, if the things are addressed, people works, then there is going to be no problem and the issues will be sorted out.
I want to take this to Mr. Karanjawala. Mr. Karanjawala, general counsels, as a now a department, I just recently met a GC who said I have 170 people working with me. I was surprised. This is a young company, a funded company, but a young company. I want to know from you, when they deal with 8 and 10 law firms, do you think their role has also become very complex? Because across jurisdictions, you have to deal with law firms. It is not as if, one legal department. I mean, it's a large company. They will have litigation from Kashmir to Kanyakumari and also outside India. Do you think their role has become much more difficult in that sense, that you're dealing with so many people?
Obviously. I mean, that's what I said. I mean, what do you look at when you look at the international market? Because that's the most complex market. What do you look at? You look at companies which go out and hire partners of senior law firms who are very bright, know their business because they've interacted with this particular firm, and take them as GCs or take them as in-house counsel. Obviously, it's much more complex. You see, when you're dealing with simple things, it's much more simple. Now you're dealing with a huge market. And one point I liked of Sunil's very much, which is, I was also thinking of that, is that there will be a time when the law courses also, the law colleges will start having to offer optional courses for people who say early in life that, look, we'll do law, but we may want to go in-house. So then there should be a few courses which sort of prime them up a little better to adapt to that environment than
One
normal.
supplementary I want to ask you. We see now this increasing trend of GCs becoming law firm partners and partners aiming to become GCs. Is it easy to do?
It depends on the individual and depends on the firm. You see, let's put it this way. For a GC to become a law firm partner, see, if you're a partner of a large law firm, then what is expected of you is not only a certain level of technical expertise, so that the law firm can just absorb you and say, look, like when Bharat Vasani left Tata's and joined Cyril, he was well versed in all the company laws and all the general laws. So Cyril knew that, look, I have ready at hand someone who can always, I can count on for on-the-spot advice, which is complex. Now, but most law firms are not like that. Most law firms, when you make a partner from an external partner, the first thing they ask is, how much business are you going to be able to get me? That's the first question they ask. So the general counsel who switches either has to say that, look, I have the blessings of my management. And in fact, they are much happier if I sit with you because it makes their role easier and it will strengthen your company's ability to get work from my company. Things like that. So it's not an easy walk across. You can't just walk from one place to another. But this is where, if you're going as a general counsel to the legal market, if you're coming from the law firm to the general counsel, there's a lot of adaptability to be done. Law firm partners are much more freewheeling. They're dealing with people. They have never worked in closed environments. They have never worked in excessive structures. You have to adapt to the structure. It's not always easy. Every corporation has its own level of politics. Every corporation has its own level of, navigation, which you have to do to achieve something for yourself. So these are all skill sets that, normally if you're competent in one field, you'll probably have some level of competence in the other. But these have to be seen. There's no guarantee that, look, I'm in a big firm here, so I'll get a big GC's job over there. No.
So point well taken.
And also one last thing. In a large law firm, in a large company, the GC's effectiveness is contingent upon his credibility and his rapport with the top management. If the chairman has faith in you, then everything else works. That's not always easy to cultivate. You can't just walk across and say, hi, I'm here now. So it takes time. So these are all things that you have to nuance through.
But I'll take your point to Dr. Sunil Mittal. Dr. Mittal, the role of external GC has seen a lot of growth in the recent years. You have an extensive experience here. What part Mr. Karanjawala said, to have the ear of the chairman, how important it becomes when you have to perform your role effectively. If you are in the end stuck with, say, the number 3 in the company or the number 4 in the company, how difficult it is there. If you could explain with perspective.
Yeah, let me try. It's quite interesting. See, the point is, with the growth of the economy and with the growth of the role, Tarun, is going to happen. The beauty lies if this happens seamlessly, either from GC side going to the law firm or vice versa. Point is, it's a matter of, in my view, personal skills and soft skills, which becomes important at the GC level. It's not only the understanding of law. Another important aspect is understanding the need of your client. If you go as a GC from a law firm, if you go to become a GC, then your sole client or customer is that corporation, its board or its chairman. So you have to understand their requirement, from where they are coming. If you could understand it properly, you can address their queries and you understand what they are looking for or what are their pain areas, it becomes easy. Similarly, if you see GC is going to a law firm, again, I look at it like this. I work very closely with so many big law firms and the partners. If you understand their difficulties, you work very closely with them, you started understanding their nuances. I mean, one part is book building, as Mr. Kanjawala was telling. That is something different, altogether different thing. But as far as, because you have got a baggage of understanding how promoter or the corporation works, what kind of requirements they have got, then it becomes easy. If you become a partner in a law firm, you will be able to understand that, you'll be able to pick it very quickly, and then you may be able to give a good solution or prompt solution because of your understanding.
I want to, if you can tell me one thing, promoters tend to sometimes, not all promoters, but promoters are under pressure. They tend to pressure their GCs. The GCs sometimes end up pressuring the law firms. If they don't pressure, then they are themselves in tension or in pressure all the time, because they are not able to pressure the law firm. The promoter keeps on pressuring them. So it is called the GC heartache. Because on the other side is the law firm and the other side is the promoter. Do you think that you need some qualities, human qualities also to be a GC to withstand the pressure? Because beyond a point, you can't pressure the law firm. But the promoter is many times when he's under pressure, he will tend to pass on that pressure to the GC. It could be the smallest of the thing or the biggest of the thing. How are human qualities important for the general counsel role?
It plays a very important role. It's a very good question which you have asked, and actually it will help the whole breed of in-house counsels. So as for your personal traits are concerned, personal qualities are concerned, that plays the major role. Because when you become at such a prominent position in a business, big corporation, wherever, then your quality is how to address the environment, how to understand, and how to communicate. That becomes important. You have to take pressures. But it's not like that the promoter don't understand. There may be exceptions. Always there are exceptions. But at the heat of the moment, it could be that you may be under pressure. But over the time, when you explain the position, and when you explain the legal position, sometimes yourself, sometimes with the help of external counsel, sometimes you open the partner of the law firm, communication becomes easy. They understand the difficulty. So your overall personality and your background, that matters, and that actually helps you navigating through these tough times.
Okay. Point well taken. I'll take this to Mr. Karanjawala. To extend that question, I want to ask you, general counsels, because they are the key point for the promoter, all pressure is put to them for delivery, and they have to push the law firm for getting that delivery done. Do you think it is a very high pressure job these days to be a general counsel of, say, a big infrastructure company or mining company, which is all heavy litigation based jobs? I mean, this has a lot of litigation as compared to other multinationals, which may have much fewer litigation, though they are big names.
Definitely. Because today, a lot of litigation is also very high stake. It's just not that you have to deal with hundreds of matters. You have to deal with several matters which are very high stake, and where a defeat could kick the company back by 2 years. It could convert a profit into a loss. A profit-making company could become a loss if they lost 3 big important cases. I remember, I won't give any personal example, but I remember so many cases where clients were really dependent on the outcome of what we were handling. And had it gone the other way, they would have been in considerable trouble. So obviously, we are one remove. At the end of the day, I'll only lose the client. But the GC will lose his job, no? So
Yes.
The pressure on him is 5 times more.
But tell me,
he's the guy. He's the guy directly interacting with the chairman every day. The chairman catches him and says, "Bhai, hua kya uska? Have you got that matter listed yet?" "Nahi sir, abhi to court mein to atka hua hai." "Atka hua hai? Kuch karo." So they have constant pressure. Nobody realizes it, but they have constant pressure.
So I want to know this from you, and for my understanding also, that now your law firm takes bulk matters, say 500, 800 matters. So
we also take individual matters. We take whatever comes our way.
Yeah.
Or this kind. So
yeah, no, but when say a GC is handling out say 500-800 matters to a law firm, what are they looking at basically? I mean, they would
first of all, understand one thing. Very rarely do GCs come and hand over 500 matters to a law firm. First of all, very rarely do companies transfer lock, stock, and barrel. First of all, not too many companies have 800 matters on their rolls. All that, and that too all in one city. But assuming now you get one such and they're transferring it over, obviously they're not going to transfer it blind. They're not going to come in one day and say, look, I've got 500 matters and you take them over tomorrow. So they would have interacted with you a little bit, got the flavor of how you are and all. Obviously, they would be unhappy with the firm that they were earlier going to, because otherwise there's no reason. If they were getting results and they were happy, they wouldn't shift. Why should they? So they want to come over. Then when they come over, what they have to look at, what you have to look at when you deal, when you're handling so much is first, what is the size of the firm in that particular geographical jurisdiction? Now, a 5 or 10 people firm can't suddenly digest that kind of matter. And even a very big firm, with over 100 lawyers only in litigation, still takes about 6 months to digest that client. It doesn't happen overnight. You take them, see, all 600 matters are not being heard tomorrow. They'll be heard over the next 3 years. So you take them 3 and 5 and 10 at a time and sort of get into them and keep giving results, and then the client stays with you. That's how it works.
Point taken. I'll take this to Dr. Mittal. I met a GC who said that he's a real estate company. He said, I have 300 plus matters. And he says it ranges from a small matter regarding an individual flat owner having some problems in the fittings to big matters regarding structural issues, investors litigation, mining companies, construction companies, infrastructure companies, very litigation heavy. It all gets on the head of the GC. How does he manage this? Or do you think every GC can handle this? You can take up a job, but can you deliver? Because, if somebody comes from, say, an American multinational operating in India with 17 cases and all, and takes up a lucrative job with a high salary in a company which has got 700 cases, do you think he signs up for something he can't manage?
So before Sunil answers it, Tarun, let me come in, because you sort of pinned him down, but let me just come in. It depends. First of all, I don't think an American MNC would be able to deal with the Indian environment. That's my first thing. I've seen a lot of people who have come in, even a lot of hoteliers, they get a foreign general manager in. He brings in systems, but inevitably the whole atmosphere gets to him. So first of all, it's very difficult for a foreigner to come in and suddenly take over and handle things at that mass level. You need to have a little bit of homegrown. You have to understand the culture of the country in which you are living. It's not easy for somebody to just take over. Now I'll ask Sunil to carry on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Kranjawala. See, the point is basically you have to understand. I look at it like this. The approach needs to be like this, that you have to go through all the matters, segregate it. You have to again understand what kind of challenges are there in different kind of matters, at what stage they are. Once you have done that exercise and you have got the feedback, it's not like that one law firm, external law firm is handling all the matters. It will be, there'll be tax matters, there'll be regulatory matters, there'll be transaction advisory, there'll be arbitrations, there'll be Supreme Court litigations, there'll be High Court litigations. So basically you have to understand and divide the whole work into different compartments. You have to see where the expertise lies. For example, if regulatory expertise is there, you will go to the persons who is handling that kind of regulatory regime. Then you will discuss with them and you will try to understand what kind of assistance they can offer. For example, there is some high-stake litigation in the Supreme Court of India, where the whole company may be at stake, or in the High Court of India. Then you will think that I have to go Mr. Kranjawala or Ketan or someone else. You will be discussing with them and prioritizing. Again, I'm saying ABC analysis, which we use in the accounting terms. You have to find that 5% of the matter where the stakes involved are 85%. And on that basis, you have to work. So once if you have done that exercise, it becomes very easy. It's not a challenge. And then I'm saying it's not the GC who is doing. If you are building a team, if you're developing a team, the team is working and they have got your confidence, you have got proper MIS, you have got alerts, then it's not challenging, my friend. This is my experience of last 20 to 25 years in this profession.
Okay.
The
Okay,
real,
but
the real problem for all of us is to educate the Indian management that litigation and law needs a far larger budget than they're willing to allocate.
yes.
It comes down to that one very simple thing. They will spend hundreds of crores on advertising. But a good or a bad advertisement is not really going to make or break your company. 4 bad cases, 4 bad judgments can bring you to your knees. But people
Yes.
don't realize that. That was my argument with Aditya. That was the first argument that I had. So, these are things that you have to understand. And that is where the education of the chairmen and the managing directors comes in, where they understand the value of what today, let's face it, Tarun, it's no secret. When I joined the bar and where we are today, lawyers' fees have multiplied God knows how many times. But why is that? Not because suddenly people started liking lawyers. No, because the stakes are so high. Today, companies realize that unless I go to a Mukul Rohgi or a Manu Singhvi or a Harish Salve or a Kapil Sibal, and I get them to take my case and I get them to argue it and I get to win the case, I might actually suffer a setback which puts me back by 5 years. Today, when top executives are being jailed, when company promoters are sitting in jail, then, look at how large the stakes are. So that's the whole point you have to think, you see. And that is where the real challenge also is to get management to slowly understand just how important the legal system around them is to the success of their company.
Taking your point, I'll go to Dr. Sunil Mittal. See, recently you saw some promoters being booked in cases. They may or may not have been arrested today, but there is every likelihood that they may be arrested tomorrow. Now, if that is
Wow.
true, then what kind of preparedness does the GC should have? Because with all these kind of cases, high-profile industrialists facing cases, do you think it becomes a very tough call to be a GC of such a company where there is high-stake litigation on the promoter, where his own liberty may be taken away? It's not about the company there. It is about the promoter. Of course, any transaction of the promoter will be linked to the company. So the GC has to come into play. It is a company transaction.
See, basically, the role, as Ryan has already elaborated, is a very dynamic role. Right. And here, the promoter is not totally or completely working on the basis of the GC. He is also actively exchanging notes with the external counsels. So here things are being done collectively. Challenges are understood collectively. And that actually helps in understanding what kind of issues or challenges could be there and how they are to be addressed. So that is the way forward. I want
one sincerely one.
I'll come in here if I can. This brings me back to my original point of the role of the GC. You asked the question, today the man is being prosecuted, what is the role of the GC? But the real role of the GC is to ensure that the chairman does nothing that will ever get him prosecuted. That is the importance of the GC. He says, sir, ye nahi karna. And,
Yes.
if the management listens to him, then that problem doesn't arise. That is the real role of the GC, and that is where they're different from us. Because they firsthand see what is happening with the company on a day-to-day basis. So they can give that initial advice right at the very beginning. And that is why that trust with the top management is so important.
You're saying they can prevent the wrongdoing from happening itself at the pre.
So I'm sorry for intervening.
Please, you can.
As
Go ahead.
very rightly said, it's like legal awareness that is to be built over the time. Now, the thing we are facing, as you're trying to discuss, now the skeletons are coming out of the cupboards.
Correct.
It is about the past sins which are coming out now in front. That is one thing. But as very rightly said, if you keep on giving right advice at the right time, it may be heard or it may not be heard. That is a different thing altogether.
But you have done your job, you see.
You have done your job. You satisfy your consciousness that, look here, I had done my job. I have communicated. Things may be right or wrong. That depends on the time. And the unfortunate thing, let me say it again, Tarun, and I used to say on different forum, in India, there is not only one Supreme Court. If there are 17 benches, you have got 17 Supreme Courts. If you have got with 26 high courts, 500 benches, then you have got 500 high courts. There is complete lack of coherence in the working of the system. It is evolving. Even I look at it, the legal system or the judicial system in India is evolving. So the challenge lies not only in spreading the legal awareness, it depends at what time, what things for whatever reason becomes prominent and how that is to be handled.
I want to ask you a question in a lighter way. What qualities does an GC should have so he doesn't resign after the company gets into the problem? Because if the promoter is booked and the GC resigns, then the most defendable man is not there. Somebody who you rely, who knows all your books, who knows all your transactions. So suppose a promoter is booked. What kind of qualities there? Because in the end, there is a pressure on him on a day-to-day basis. He has to face the agencies. He may be summoned. There may be things what he has to endure when the promoter is in trouble. Because in the end, he is the face of the promoter in the case of a legal problem.
So basically, as far as this question is concerned, again, answer is simple. If he knows about the system, he has to give the complete assistance to the persons who are driving the company. He has from time to time, and there may be the cases where the directors are in trouble. At that time, the persons who are at the helm of the affairs, they are to be advised, they are to be consulted, they are to be taken to the best external counsels. There has to be more collaborations, and you have to try to find how the things are to be sorted out. Right? Running away may not be the solution. These kind of challenges will keep on coming in one form or another form. And with the passage of time, things keep on changing, things improves over the time. So with that perspective, one should work and look at the things.
I'll take this to Mr. Karanjawala. You're looking at an economy doubling and tripling in size in 15 years' time only. With the demography we have, this is supposed to happen. Now, litigation will become much more complex. Mistakes and cases will happen. Do you think that there is a huge, in a sense, opportunity for the GC role in future, given how complex the litigation is going to be? You will need expert GCs who can completely understand sectors. For example, a mining GC or a coal GC will have to study the entire sector because litigation can come from any aspect of the business, and he should be understanding the business in order to be able to assist the law firm better so that they can take up the case.
I'll answer the question in an inverted way. With the increase of litigation, even the law firms will have to increasingly specialize. We will have to have more and more silos and more verticals. In the old days, they were broad, civil, criminal. Then it got more, subject-wise allocations. People went in, then people are arbitration specialists, people are competition specialists, and so on. This is where the GC makes an exact fit. Because the GC by nature, has to be far more specialized in the law firm. Because he's dealing with his own industry. Otherwise, he won't be the GC. So definitely, it's a much better fit when the GC comes and assists the law firm because he brings additional specialization which the law firm may not possess. So certainly there is no doubt with the passage of time, the role of the GC has to grow. He has to get greater importance. And I foresee a situation where 5 to 10 years down the road, companies above a particular size may be mandated by the Companies Act to ensure that the general counsel of the firm also sits on the board.
Okay.
You see, it's a thing that will evolve as time goes. But that's what I feel will happen one day.
Point.
There is absolutely no doubt that the role of the GCs is growing and growing. Dr. Mittal himself will tell you, when he joined as a GC, you must have joined many years ago when you first joined the profession. Look at the difference in his. Today, I think there are 2, 3, 4 associations of general counsel. Am I not right?
Correct. Just taking it further. Now look at the example of doctors. Earlier, so far, GC has been playing the role of family doctor, general physician. If the need arises, what kind of problem you are facing, he takes you to the specialist. But as Mr. Karanjawala very well said, now we have to relook at the legal curriculum in itself. If you're thinking of 10 years ahead, if you're thinking of 20 years ahead, right from the stage of law colleges, what you need to do, you have to compartmentalize, you have to work out that, look here, I want a construction industry specialist lawyer, I want mining, I want your telecom, I want aviation. These kind of specializations are available abroad. They have got the specialist sports law related lawyers.
Absolutely.
That kind of training is going on there. I know a few guys who went abroad to get that kind of added qualifications so that they can address sports related signing of the contract, sports related litigations. So we have to look at this factor. This is one point. Second, what I look at, Tarun, is not only doing these things in the law colleges. Right from the initial stage, we need to impart the legal awareness in the management programs, in these engineering institutions. So there has to be cohesive working. You have to, once you can impart that kind of legal training or legal understanding, at least in the engineering college or the management colleges, it will become easy to understand what the general counsel or the in-house counsel is trying to say, what the law firm is trying to say.
You see, to take it further, Tarun, the idea came to me when Dr. Mittal was speaking. They, like you used to have in the old days, exchange programs between countries. Students from one country came for 6 months and worked in another country. You might well, over the years now, have situations where there are exchange programs. The GC takes a sabbatical for 6 months, works in a law firm where his company is already associated with, and then comes back. So he has an additional expertise which he never had, and vice versa. Increasingly, as you see, the role of the general counsel is going to be more and more important. There is no denying that. And the law firms are increasingly more sensitive to that role, and they take more and more help from general counsel.
Point well taken. Now we almost been to the end of the 2-part series that we are doing. We'll take one final comment from each panelist. Over to you, Dr. Mittal.
Yeah, so basically what Ryan has said is the right thing. In the beginning of the discussion, I said seamless transition from GC to law firm and from law firm to GC position. And he has given a very good solution. Take sabbatical, join the law firm. You will come to know what kind of pressure and challenges they are facing and how they are handling the things. It's easy to demand. Asking the law firm, कि भाई मेरा matter कल लगा दो. You have to understand their difficulty and how to catch the senior advocate and all that. So once you become part of that system for some time, it will give you a window. You will be able to understand. And similarly, for the law firm also, if they go and join some corporation as the general counsel, in-house counsel, they'll understand what kind of difficulties these people are having. So this kind of working is to be, this will develop over the time. It will be better if it happens voluntarily. Otherwise, it will be by perforce.
Okay, Mr. Karanjawala, your closing comment.
So my closing comment is to you, Tarun. I think now it's important that you also played a participative role. So every month, you do how many programs in the month?
20 plus.
20 wow. Plus. Make sure that at least 1 or 2, preferably 2, have GCs participating in.
Yes.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be a GC only talking about GCs, which is what we are doing today. When you have a group panel discussion, you have 5 people, 3 people, 4 people, start pulling in general counsel so that there is a interaction at your level also, which sort of adds to and increases general awareness of the situation on both sides. And I think it will be a popular move, and I think people will appreciate it.
No, of course.
What do you say, Doctor?
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it's a super idea, and it actually helps. These kind of interactions and the spreading about the awareness actually helps a lot. And that's why I used to say, I mean, wherever I get the opportunity, like the US, we need to have a lateral recruitment. As of now, what is happening? The person who is sitting as in-house counsel or GC, you have taken his COP out, his sanad out. So now that experience which he works as a GC, that is good for becoming a GC, but not thereafter. So effectively what you need to do is, you should take GCs in the governments. You can take them at the joint secretary level, additional secretary, whatever. I mean, it's up to the government to work on that. You can take them in NCLT, NCDRC, and so many other forums. Why you're not utilizing the expertise and
Talent
the
and expertise which is available.
It is untapped.
Point very well taken. We'll try to, in a sense, comply with the suggestion which Mr. Karanjawala made. Appreciate that coming from you. It was a very engaging discussion. We overshot time by 20 minutes, but I think we got
3 parts. You're going to have 3 parts now.
Let's see how we are able. But when we embarked the discussion, we couldn't realize we would get so many points out. But I think this would be an eye-opener for many GCs, law firms who are watching, a lot of young counsels also who are watching, students even, because they are looking forward to join a world where they can't imagine the kind of pressure that's going to be thrown at them. It looks very nice to see all top managing partners and GCs in nice suits taking awards and speaking, but the pressure that's on their shoulders, I see it on a day-to-day basis. It's not an easy life, I must say. But challenge is what are individuals made for. Character is made when challenges are thrown at individuals. I appreciate and thanks so much, Mr. Karanjawala. As usual, you've been a pillar of support. You joined, you shared your opinions with us. Dr. Sunil Mittal came on the show for the first time. We heard your opinions. We enriched the discussion with your presence. Appreciate your joining us. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.